Hey everyone, it's Skylar here, and I hope you're all doing okay. Sorry, I'm trying to not have the mirror in my camera because otherwise you can see the pen. Anyways, hi, how's everyone doing? I haven't posted in a little while, and that's just because I've been going through some stuff mentally and personally. But I watched a video, or I watched two different videos, and I'll link them both below in case anyone else wants to watch them. And they were on asexuality. And so, for those of you who don't know what asexuality is or the ace spectrum, I am nowhere near the most informed person. So, this is what I know from my own research and from my own understanding. People who fall on the ace spectrum um, do not feel a sexual attraction to people as a whole. Um, Sometimes they can, um, and they're very um, interested in like non sexual ways of affirming their affection and love towards their partner. And not having sexual attraction is not the same thing as them not loving their partner. They have full romantic attraction to their partner. They love their partner. They just don't like have the desire to have sex. And so their way of like affirming that they are truly in love with someone is not like society's normal way, which is like you have sex with someone. So I'll link their videos down below. They 100% know so much more about this than I do. They are on the sexuality spectrum. One of them, their name is Chandler. They are a trans non-binary uh, YouTube channel who talks about like LGBT issues and experiences in their transition and asexuality and life as a non-binary person. And another one, his name is Aaron, and he is a trans man who also falls on the asexuality spectrum, and he does a lot of transition type videos as well, and also does a lot of like prosthetic reviews, or not necessarily reviews, but like talks a lot about different like prosthetics and stuff like that. And so I'll like both their channels down below. And the reason I wanted to talk about this was I wanted to talk about my sexuality. Now, my sexuality is something that I've never addressed publicly. It's not something that I talk about in general ever. I don't even think like I'm married to a wonderful woman, and she knows the ins and outs of myself and my persona and everything like that. But I don't think she knows everything about my sexuality just because I don't think I know everything. And so I'm hoping that this video is a way for me to have an outlet to explain everything that I want to explain just to myself. And if anyone can relate to this or understands this, like that's what I want to do and what I want to accomplish in this. So for me, I identify as non-binary, um, lesbian, um, trans individual. My preferred pronouns are they, them. I will accept she, her pronouns. That's what the majority of people use, but if I had my way, I would go by they, them. And Skylar is not my birth name, but it's the name that I choose to go by. My birth name is Tara. I don't like that name. It upsets me when people use it, and a lot of people in my personal life still use it. Um, and so if you are trans and people are using your dead name, I understand how you feel, and it's not fair. And if you need someone to listen to or anything like that, I'm here to listen to whatever you have to say. I'll link all my social medias in the links below. So I started experiencing my sexuality abnormality. That's what I thought it was at the time, anyways, when I was about 12. So when I was 12, I was in I just finished seventh grade. And in seventh grade, we had a class like on sexuality. But I went to a Catholic school, so it wasn't really about sexuality. It was more about um, God's version of sexuality. Now, I myself am atheist, and so like these lessons of sex did not help me when I got older. However, at that point in life, I was very religious. And so when I was 12, I went on to a lot of like dating websites and stuff like that, and I would just talk to people just because I wanted to make friends. I didn't have a lot of friends um, where I live, and I'm a very, very social person. I like to talk to people. I like to interact with people and understand them better. And so I met this girl, and she was very sweet, and I became good friends with her. And she was bisexual. She was with a woman at the time, and I started to realize that I thought of her as more than a friend, and this really freaked me out because I had no idea what bisexuality was. I had no idea what pansexual or like demisexual or any of these things. I didn't know what they were, and I was like, "Is this normal? What's going on? Is there something wrong with me? There must be. This isn't how things are. This isn't the way things work. What the hell is going on?" And she used this and manipulated me into sending her nude photos and into like sexual conversations and sexual encounters. Now, yes, this was all online, but for myself, I do count online relationships and online abuse um, as something that will affect you as a person. People have different opinions on that, and that's totally fine. So that was my first experience with sex and sexuality and abuse. And I have never been in a healthy relationship except for the one that I am currently in, which is my marriage. And I have been married to this woman for a year and a half. And she's the absolute best thing that's ever happened to me. She took all the broken pieces that people created in me and helped me to shape them into who I want to be. So after that, I started to really question myself, and she was very like pro sex and everything like that, which is fine. I admire that about her. I admire that she's so comfortable in her body and very comfortable with sex. But she was older than I was, and she was also with someone. And so the fact that she manipulated me into this, I felt very uncomfortable. And she tried to talk to me about how like pleasuring yourself is okay. And for me, that was not something I ever like heard about or knew of, and I didn't know anyone who did that. And so for me, like that was very like, no, that's weird, that's wrong, this is not what people do, it's not okay. And I still to this day, I'm 20 and I still have that mindset from when I was 12. And so I went into a couple of more abusive relationships that were very, very sexual and that was the prime focus of their relationship. And I think for me, it caused me to have a rift between like being able to love someone and being able to have sex with someone. For the longest time, I thought they were one and the same. I thought that if you love someone, you have sex with someone. If you have sex with someone, you love someone. And so for me, I fall onto the sexuality spectrum because I very infrequently have sexual desires, and I do not experience sexual attraction. I love my wife. I think she's beautiful. I think she's the most wonderful woman in the world. However, I'm not sexually attracted to her. And that's not because of anything she did or didn't do. It's just the way that my brain works. Now, I have had sex with her, and that's fine. That's a part of our relationship. But she knows that in order for me to be comfortable with sex, there are a lot of circumstances that have to be met, and it's very infrequently that I actually experience sexual desires. However, I absolutely love non-sexual touches and communication. I love hugs. I love, back rubs, massages. I love holding hands. I love just cuddling. I love like little kisses. I love stuff like that. Things that are not overtly sexual. When it comes to things that are very sexual, I am very timid. I don't like having to provide sex. There's this misconception that people who are asexual don't feel pleasure. That's not the case. We don't experience the desire to have sex, but that doesn't mean that we don't feel sexual pleasure and gratification. For myself, I am definitely the receiver in the relationship. Now, yes, I do give my wife things sexually. I do provide for her emotionally. I am not neglecting towards her in any way, and that took a long time for me to admit to myself that I was not being neglecting towards her because of the fact that I didn't want to or couldn't convince myself to have sex. And I think when I realized that, that should have told me that I don't need to force myself to do anything. And if the right person is with me, they will be okay with however I need to have things in order for me to feel comfortable and safe and loved. And so she is great in the fact that she's very open and understanding of where I stand, and she's very giving, especially in non-sexual ways, but that are still very affectionate and very um, great ways that we strengthen our bond and our love to each other. And I think that that's kind of what I really want to say is like, it took a long time for me to get comfortable with my sexuality. Being gay was something that took a long time to actually come out and say, and I didn't say it until I didn't publicly say that I was gay until I think 2 or so months into my relationship with my wife when we first started dating. And that's just kind of when I came out point blank. I was like, oh, yeah, I have a girlfriend. So I guess, like, I'm gay. And on me being trans, that's this whole separate video that I'm not ready to make yet, but I will make it sometime in the future. Um, but I definitely lost a lot of friends and even more family when I came out as gay. And that taught me that being gay is probably one of the best things that could have ever happened in my life, in the sense that it made me who I am. It made me want to do the things that I want to do in my life, and it made me appreciate all the small things that I previously overlooked before I came out. And I guess that's kind of all I wanted to say. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will see you guys very soon. Have a good day.